And the other big change on this bike, as you can probably see, is we have a 68mm threaded bottom bracket, which is something I never thought I would see on a Cannondale road bike, but there we have it, a threaded bottom bracket. Wow, speechless. Today, Cannondale has launched a brand new Synapse endurance road bike, and here it is. And in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this brand new bike. What I won't do is ride it because I only picked the bike up 1 hour ago, so make sure you stay tuned for that first ride impression video coming very soon. But still a lot to talk about on this brand new bike. Now, this new bike is big news not only for the US company, but also for the road bike market generally, because for the past decade or so, the Synapse has been one of the benchmark endurance road bikes and a personal favourite of mine. I've ridden the last 2 generations, and I rode the previous version for about 2 years as a long-termer, and it is one of my all-time favourite road bikes for that perfect combination of speed and comfort. So this new bike has big shoes to fill, and really, looking back at the old model, it's hard to see how they could improve on it, and it looks like they have found a few areas to improve and innovate. Now, the US company is famous for its innovation, and I love the company for that. And some of those innovations have been amazing, like the CAD aluminium bikes, for example, the Slate gravel bike, well ahead of its time, the Lefty and the Headshock suspension fork, and love or hate it, the BB30 PF30 bottom bracket system, but some not so good. The motocross bike, for example, well, that didn't end so well, did it? But this innovation looks like a smart move, and a move I think we can all get on board with, because it's all about rider safety. So lights and a radar baked into the frame as a complete package to improve your safety and visibility on the roads. And rider safety, I think it's fair to say, is a higher priority for many of us. As roads become busier, there's more anger between different groups of road users, which is why gravel bikes have become so popular over the last couple of years as we get away from the roads and into the forest. But this looks like a step in the right direction. So in this video, we'll go through the Smart Sense technology first, and then through the frame details itself and what they changed over the old bike, because as you can see, they have changed quite a bit on it. So let's dive in. So what the hell is Smart Sense? Well, very simply put, it's a concept of front and rear lights and a radar to detect other road users, powered by a single battery and connected to a front hub sensor, which you can connect to a smartphone app. But crucially, you don't have to use a smartphone app if you don't want. The idea is simply get on the bike, and as soon as the front wheel starts spinning, the lights come on. So hopefully this demonstration should show how that works. So give the front wheel a spin, and there we go. As you can see, the front light is now flashing away, as is the rear light. So no smartphone needed, just rotation of the front wheel, and that works in a way like a dynamo system that I have on that J Laverick Jack video linked above if you missed that. So it works as simply as a dynamo setup, but using that single battery down below, which you do have to charge from time to time. So while on the surface it's adding more tech to a road bike, what they're actually doing is making it simpler, making life easier by having a single battery, which you can see attached to the down tube here, and it's easily removable. So take it away, and that is a battery. And on first impressions, I really like how Cannondale have clearly thought carefully about how they attach the lights to the seat post, the handlebar, and the battery to the frame itself. You probably know that attaching lights to any road bike is a bit of a faff. You've got to make sure you get the right bracket, and there's 1,000 different brackets and attachment systems for different lights. And some of the lights and brackets can be so woeful that they bounce around. There's a risk of them falling off, and worst of all, they look rubbish attached to a sleek road bike like this. The lights look very rigid and very secure, and doesn't feel there's any risk of them falling off on bumpy roads or pavé, so that is all good. Now the battery, as you can see, sits on a down tube, so you can remove it easily, which is a plus. If you keep your bike in the garage or a shed, you just take the battery inside to charge it up. However, it does remind me of an early Di2 battery attached to the down tube, so this being internal or having the option to put it inside the down tube might have been nice to maintain the sleek looks of this bike. And we've seen companies like Specialized with their SWAT storage on a down tube clearly find space for putting stuff inside the frame. So maybe this inside a frame might have been an option or a smart move. But let me know what you think of that down below. Internal versus external, which would you have preferred? Do you like the simplicity, the ease of maintenance, or would you have liked to have seen it tucked inside a frame? So far then, we've talked extensively about the smart sense technology of lights and radar, but none of that means anything if the frame they're attached to is no good. But on first impressions, this bike does look good. Now, as I alluded to in my intro, the Synapse has long been a popular endurance road bike and one of my personal favourites of all time. I really mean that. So this new bike, as you can see, looks quite different from the previous version, and that's because they've gone after aero with a big influence from the System 6 aero race bike and also more comfort. So quite a few changes, but firstly, let's talk about looks, because looks are important, although totally subjective, so have your say down below. And I do like how this bike looks. We had this very understated base grey colour, a new cool head tube logo, no logo on the down tube, just a small logo on the top tube. So very clean, understated look. And we have fairly conventional cable routing, so external cable routing. Even on the top end model, the cables and hoses are in the down tube and the fork. So no funky stereo tube here, just a fairly conventional 1/8 inch stereo tube, normal cable routing. So maintenance of the headset bearings, if you are concerned about their longevity, should be a doddle. So as you can see, the frame looks very different to the old model, and that's because we have dropped rear stays for the first time, which are influenced from the System 6 aero race bike. We have aero fork blades, aero down tube as well. Aero where they can add aero without compromising the comfort focus of this bike. And comfort has been a focus. The old bike was really good when it came to riding rough roads and pavé, and the new bike has a claimed 8% improvement in compliance. And that despite the fact they're going from the old bike's 25.4mm seat post to a more conventional 27.2 round seat post with an external seat collar. But they've dropped rear stays, and the shape of the rear stays, the seat stays and the chain stays have given rise to that improvement in compliance the bike delivers. So I can't wait to hit the road and see how it actually works on my local rough roads here in the Cotswolds. Tyre clearance is the other big change, up from 32 of the old bike up to 35 on this bike. And like the old bike, you can still fit mud guards with mounts on the frame and fork. So tyre clearance is a hot topic right now, and I spoke to David Devine in a podcast, linked down below if you want to listen to that, talk about the design process behind this bike. And I asked him about tyre clearance, and he said that for them, the endurance bike is definitely a pure road bike, maybe some light gravel, but a 35 is the maximum they want to see on this sort of bike. And going up to 38, 40 is where a gravel bike really takes over, and they have a full range of gravel bikes with Topstone and Topstone Carbon. So they really kept the tyre clearance limited and weren't tempted to go bigger, like we've seen with the Trek Demani's 38mm wide tyres, very clearly keeping this a endurance road bike and not a gravel crossover bike. But I know some people will be tempted to fit the wide tyre they can, and depending on the state of your gravel, where you live and how smooth or groomed it is, you could fit a 35 slightly treaded tyre and do a bit of gravel, but riding in the woods is not really what this bike is designed for. And the other big change on this bike, as you can probably see, is we have a 68mm threaded bottom bracket, which is something I never thought I would see on a Cannondale road bike, but there we have it, a threaded bottom bracket. Wow, speechless. I'll just leave it there. So now let's talk about prices and specification, and really it's best to check the website in your region because they will differ around the world. But the bike here, I'm very lucky to say, is a range top model which costs £9,000 here in the UK. I'm quite surprised it starts with a 9 and not a 10, 11 or 12. So keeping it below 10 is quite impressive, although it's still a lot of money. But we do have some very nice kit. So we had the brand new Shimano Durace Di2 12-speed group set. We had the company's own hologram Knot 45 tubeless wheels with Vittoria Corsa Graphene 2.0 30mm wide tyres. The company's own Save handlebar, their own hologram seat post, and a Physique Argo saddle, which I'm a real fan of, and of course the lights and battery. This bike, a size 56 without pedals, weighs 8.47 kilograms on my scales, which is pretty good actually when you have got a battery and you have got lights. So you need to factor that into the weight of the system. Now it's tricky unless I take the lights and the battery off to weigh them separately to see what that actually adds to the bike. But you could weigh your own lights and your radar that you normally attach to the bike and see how much they weigh on their own to add that to the weight of your bike to get a better picture, because you can't really compare this to another endurance road bike without the lights and the radar and the battery attached to it as we have here. And if that's too much money for you, you'll be pleased to know the range starts, here in the UK at least, from £2,400 with a Tiagra group set, and there are options with GRX as well, Ultegra, and interestingly the current or previous generation 11-speed Ultegra as well as a new 12-speed Ultegra. So interesting move there. We still have Ultegra mechanical, but it's the old version. So whether it's part of Shimano plan to keep our 8000 in the range for the next few years while the 12-speed stuff trickles down, remains to be seen really. And as yet, there's no SRAM or Campag options, and it's all 2x, there's no 1x, which is a real shame. I thought a 1x13 or 1x12 on here could have been an exciting option for those who want a 1x setup. It's important to note that the specification of the lights and radar differs from model to model depending on the price point. And no, if you're wondering, you can't buy a new Synapse without this smart sense technology. It's baked into it, it's a key feature of the bike, so you can't have it without it, I'm afraid. And the endurance bike is a perfect platform for this sort of technology to debut in the drop bar road market, because the endurance bike is a bike that has seen many firsts over the last decade or so. I'm talking about disc brakes, of course, wide tyres, big tyre clearance, real comfort features from flex zones to future shocks and iso-speed couplers, and many other features that make a drop bar road bike both fast but also more enjoyable and easier and more accessible for more people to enjoy the sport of road cycling. So the platform, the endurance platform, is a perfect demonstration for this sort of technology. So the big question remains is whether you watching this are on board with this idea. Would you rush out and buy a bike with lights and radar pre-fitted, or do you think it's a step too far? So let me know your thoughts by leaving a comment down below. But that's all for now. I'm off to go for a ride in the P Suit behind me to see how it performs, and you can see that first impression video very soon, so make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again very soon.